Hi, welcome to my channel.
Hey, welcome back. We're going to go ahead and continue work on this trailer concept. And as we last left off, we had gone ahead and thrown in the essentials with the sport trailer. We defined the center core, number one. Number two, we in this case we defined the ingress egress, which is the entry exit route, and how we're going to do that, how we're going to enter and exit the trailer. In this case, it's the very rear part of the trailer. And then we went ahead and scaled a couple of accommodations for at least 2 passengers. So that's the minimum requirement. And at first we were thinking, well, maybe we put them in the center court, but there wasn't going to be enough room for 2. So, well, what the idea here was to take those accommodations and split them into a left and right side and have them work as outriggers, so they would actually sit above the I would say the fenders of the trailer. And now I don't know how those are going to be supported at this point. I haven't any thought about how they're going to deploy, but let's kind of continue plowing forward. And what I probably want to do next is to let's go ahead and draw a couple of people in here. Okay, now I want you to use the technique that I shared with you earlier in the semester, which is creating the the block type figures, and then I want you to articulate them so that you can get them to be both in the seating position and maybe even in the lying down position. All right, so we're going to do that first, and that's going to give you a very clear feeling about, hey, you know what, I need to make sure that I have a little more room than I first thought. And that's the reason why you want to put figures in your drawings. All right. Now I do still have my markers here. I'm still going to kind of push them off to the side. I'll recall them when I need them, but let's kind of focus more on drawing. So I'll take this backing sheet, and that may come in handy a little bit later. But the drawings will continue using our Sharpie markers. Okay. So let's go ahead and zoom in. So let's go ahead and see if we can pop in just a little bit closer, leave ourselves a little bit of headroom, and we're going to go ahead and introduce yet another sheet of tracing paper. Now what I've done since my last demo, let me kind of pull this down a little bit, is I went ahead and took a couple pieces of blue low-tack tape, and all I did was I just taped the upper edge onto the drawing so that I can kind of lift it up and back, and I can start to kind of build layers. Okay, I'll probably go maybe no more than 3 layers, and then I'll probably break out, bust out, and do a new drawing. But let's go ahead and make sure that we're always working on a pad of paper. Now I have like 2 or 3 sheets of just regular bond paper here. And again, that just gives you a nice smooth drawing. Try never ever just to draw with a single sheet of paper on a work surface, because that's just going to give you all kinds of problems. You're going to telegraph whatever textures you have on your work surface, and it's yucky. All right, so let's get rolling. I got a fresh sheet of tracing paper, and again, remember how I talked a little bit about moving this paper up and down? And I'm going to give myself a little more headroom here, because I have a feeling if I'm going to put a seated person here, I need to make sure that I have enough room for head space. So I'm just going to scoot the paper up maybe another ½ an inch or so up on the upper margin. And again, I'll just float the drawing here. And what you want to do whenever you draw figures is you want to kind of show their reference to a surface. And in this case, they're going to be sitting on this bunk. Okay, now again, don't worry about how it's going to deploy. I don't care about that right now. I just want to make sure that I've got scale and proportion worked out. All right, so what I'd like to do is maybe have the person in the seated position. So like I always do, I always draw what I know. And in this case, I'm going to have the pelvis. Okay, remember the pelvis? It's kind of a triangular shape. And then we have the upper legs. We have a joint here. We have the lower legs. And then we have these triangular shapes that represent the instep of the feet. Okay, so that much we know. And then what I'm going to do is draw the upper torso. I'm going to lean the person forward just a little bit. And then we'll slope the shoulders. We'll go ahead and draw the upper arms. We'll extend these arms. He's sitting on the bunk, and make sure he wants to feel a little more secure. we'll go and draw the trapezoids for the hands. Okay. And then we'll draw the head. Okay. And there you have it. There's your first person. Now, that wasn't so hard, was it? Now, obviously, you can always come back in and flesh out your figures by putting in the legs and the arms, but that's not really required at this point. What you want to do is make sure that you have an idea. You have a visual idea with regards to scale, what that person's going to look like sitting there. All right. Now, on the other bunk, right here, and I'm going to go ahead and scoot the paper up just a little bit, so pardon me if this guy's head disappears in the sketch. I'm going to draw this other bunk. Now, this is more in the foreground, so things are going to be a little bit larger. So what I want to do is I want to show a person in the sleeping position. So the head can be either in the front or in the rear. I think I'm going to put the person probably with their head probably up in the front. That just makes a lot more sense to me. So what I'm going to do here before I go any further is I'm going to draw a pillow. Okay, again, that's just, you sketch that in, all right? And then what you want to do is, again, you draw what you know. And my feeling is I'm going to draw the head first, because that I do know it's going to be sitting on the pillow. And then the torso. In this case, maybe the torso is laying down on its side, okay? And then I'll go ahead and draw the pelvis. And I'll draw the hip joints. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and draw the two thighs and bring the lower legs together. So you get this kind of, I won't say fetal position, but at least this person will look more like they're at rest. And we'll go ahead and draw the hands. Okay. So this much we know, right? At least we know that this would accommodate a sleeping person kind of in a curled position, but also we know that it would fit on this bunk. All right. And what's nice about drawing the first drawing, the seated person, is that you get a sense of scale. So what I would do next is I'd go ahead and just heavy up that drawing. Okay, don't worry about every little detail. Don't worry about musculature, clothing the person. You can maybe give them more of a three-dimensional look. You can make the corrections in their foot position. That's good, but don't feel the need to come in and just totally detail out these people, okay? Not necessary. As long as you have the general structure, you're good to go. Okay. And what's nice about this type of drawing in these early phases is that it gives you a chance to kind of reflect on what you've done. And I don't know about you, but I feel when I'm sketching like this is the ideas come a lot more smoothly. I'm sorry, I'm just grabbing my pen cap that just fell on the floor here. But also, it allows me to slow down my thinking, and it just lets me rationalize a little more about other aspects of the design. And now I can maybe think more clearly about how do I want this trailer to deploy. Okay, so as I'm thinking about those things, I'm going to go ahead and kind of fill in just enough of the trailer to begin the design, the next phase of design. So what comes to my mind when I'm thinking about sort of, now that I have a couple of occupants that I need to shelter, is the shelter. All right, how am I going to go ahead and put a roof over their heads, and how am I going to deploy these flat surfaces so they each have a space to call their own? Okay, so you can see the drawing is a little more simplified, but look at the volume that I've got generating here. Now I can get a feel for how am I going to pop that top. Okay, again, employ a little draw through, let that happen. All right, Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this drawing off. All right. I don't think I need this drawing for now. It may make a reappearance later. But let's go ahead and plop this drawing down on top now. Okay. And we've got this right over a fresh sheet of paper. And what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to position down a little bit lower. Okay. Just a little bit lower. And I'm going to tape it down. So the next video, I'm going to leave this video where I am right now. On my next video, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and develop that pop top, that whole idea of putting shelter over our passengers. Okay, so you can see I've got a fresh sheet of paper, and I've kind of pulled it down a little bit lower so I can take advantage of this headspace, so I can draw more things on top, and then we'll come back and take a look at that next step of development. Okay. All right. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.